Welcome back, guys. This is Cody with Wranglerstar. Today's video I'm going to cover work boots. And I am very particular about the type of shoes that I wear. As a mechanic, those of you who are mechanics, do you do your trade, do you make your living with cheap hand tools from Harbor Freight? No, you get the best tools you can afford, whether that be Snap-on or Mac or something of that equivalent. As far as carpenters, the same way. Are you going to go buy the cheapest China-made nail guns when you're making a living at framing houses? And you're not. You're going to get the best tools you can afford. Senko, Stanley, DeWalt, whatever that may be. And that's how much more important should your footwear be. I see guys, I've worked with guys all my life that have never taken any consideration really to what they put on their feet. Will go out and buy the cheapest Walmart boots that they can find, and they're on their feet 12 hours, 14 hours a day, and then they complain why their back hurts, why their feet hurt, why they're fatigued and tired, and it's all stems from having a cheap inferior boot. Not to mention, it doesn't really save you any money in the long run. You have to suffer the discomfort of wearing the things, the lack of productivity, and longevity. If you get a season out of them, you're lucky. Where a quality boot will last you a long time and can be rebuilt. So I'm going to go over a couple specific boots, and then what I'm in the middle of here is kind of some boot maintenance. And I'll go over how that should be done. Boots in Oregon or Washington, let's say the Pacific Northwest, where there's a lot of logging and kind of where in my opinion, the very best boots in the world are built, Oregon and Washington, have kind of come out of the forest industry. And that is probably the most demanding field that you're going to find. It's going to take the biggest tolls. We're going to require the best footwear because of the wet climate, because of its mountainous, and they're just, you're talking about logging up and down, and you're really asking a lot from a boot. And that has, what has come out of that is some very excellent handmade boots. From a couple companies I'm going to refer to specifically are going to be Whites Industries, and Wesco. Whites are made in Washington State, all handmade. Wescos are going to be handmade here in Oregon. And I have both. I just picked these boots up and I'm in the break-in process of them now. These happen to be Wescos. I also have Whites boots that I just sent in for repair. And the rebuilt of a boot can take about 6 to 8 weeks, and I need another pair. So I picked these up while I'm waiting for those to return. Your big difference between your handmade boots and your cheaper mass-produced boots, obviously the first thing you're going to notice is price. You're going to pay for a good quality pair of handmade boots between $400 and $500. And that sounds very shocking, and that's a big investment. But let me explain to you, what you're getting, what the difference is. And keep in mind, if you do go with a quality handmade boot like a Wesco or a Whites, if you properly take care of it, you can expect to get 3, maybe even 5 years. I'm talking daily use, working. Now, provided you take care of them, and I'm going to show you how that should be done. Once they do meet the end of their life, you can send them into the factory, as I said, and for around $200 they'll completely rebuild the lowers and everything, and when you get the boots back you won't know that they aren't brand new. It's amazing. I'll show you some pictures of that here in a minute. It's amazing what they can do, and so you essentially will get the same quality boot for half the price, and they can be rebuilt multiple times as long as the uppers are kept in good condition. Your cheaper boots, always you're looking for a Vibram sole, but there are different qualities of Vibram sole, some high and some low, where these boots are going to use the very best. Everything in them, all of their components are all going to be leather, top quality stitching, brass eyelets, and steel. Your cheaper boots, you're going to have, it'll look like maybe you have a stacked leather heel here. Oftentimes it'll be plastic or even cork. They'll use plastic inside of the shank, which does not offer the same protection as a good steel shank, or as in the case of the white boots, I think it's like a triple layer leather. One thing to keep in mind, these boots are also very popular with the fire industries, wildland firefighting. And I spent 2 years as a wildland firefighter, 2 seasons, and wearing both the Wescos and the Whites. Keep in mind, if you are going to find yourself in that environment, I would not recommend the Wescos. They have a steel shank. A shank is an instep here set inside that protects you if you're kicking a shovel, protects you from a nail, anything penetrating the heel of your foot, which is really great. Steel is great for working. However, what I found in the fire industry was when you're walking around on the hot ground doing mop-up or whatever, that steel shank will heat up and make your feet very uncomfortable, and it takes a long time for it to cool down. I found myself the first season in Wesco boots standing in buckets of water trying to get my boots to cool down, whereas the Whites, my other pair, are all leather, so you don't have that issue. So just one consideration if you are getting into firefighting, I would not recommend a steel shank. But just everything about them. They're just a stiff, heavy, rigid boot, all handmade. I think the Wesco says there's 155 or so individual processes to build this boot. Everything done by hand, everything first rate. Just a pleasure to wear. Comfortable. They'll be the most comfortable shoes you've ever had. I mean, the thing speaks for itself. If you're paying $150, $200, $250 or so for boots, you know, a lot of that, your Danners, your Red Wings, boots that are really marketed as top-notch, you know, the best you can get boots, they really aren't. They're okay. They're decent for if you're not wearing them all the time, if you're not making your living in them. Putting them on maybe to go hunting would be, that's fine. But for guys that really require on top-notch footwear, guys that are on their feet all day, working hard, construction, logging, whatever it be, you need to make the investment in these boots. It will just save you. You'll be so much more comfortable, so much happier, and safer. And they're just a pleasure to own. So let's get into maintenance. One of the worst enemies for boots. This is going to be a long video, so just bear with me here. One of the biggest things that breaks down boots the fastest is mud. If you get out in the mud and you come home, you kick your boots off and you don't rinse them off. What that does is the mud leaches the natural oils out of the boots. And what you'll find is they'll start cracking at the hinge points right here where there's a lot of wear, right in here and right in here, because the leather is essentially dried out. That's going to really shorten the lifespan of your boot. You need to get the mud off of it. And the second thing you need to do is you need to apply a proper protectant. There is true, in my opinion, the very best protectant you can use is going to be a natural beeswax. And this Obenoff's, which is made in Idaho and was developed for wildland firefighters, is the very best. It's a beeswax, it's a paste. And what I will typically do, it's a little cold here in the shop, and I just put a coat on last night, so I'm not going to do it again. But what I'll do is I'll put this in the microwave until the center melts. And with the boots inside, they don't have to be completely dry. Once you rinse them off with water, warm water, you can kind of towel dry them and they'll be ready. And never ever use any detergents with your boots. Any type of a detergent will leach the natural oils out of the boot, and you do not want that. If you need to use something more than water, baking soda, a mixture of baking soda and water is fine. But you really don't need it. Once the boots are towel dried, take your newspapers and stuff them real tight inside, and that will help draw the moisture through the inside of the boot. Get them all dried off and clean, and once you melt this and the boots are warm, I just take a paintbrush and I'll dip it in the middle and I'll paint the whole thing. And just cover everything, especially working it into the seams. Wherever there's a seam and a joint there, it's gonna have a tendency to want to leak. And so I'll pay special attention in here and work those in. And just coat, I'm just going to speed this up, just kind of demonstrate here. Once the whole boot is coated, and then go over and do the next one. And let the first one sit. And cover the whole thing, really well, a nice liberal coat. Don't forget to get the perimeter of the sole right here. You can see that this is all leather, stacked leather here. On the inside of the heel, shank, cover it really well. Once you cover that, then the best way to work the oil into the boot is by hand. The warm temperature of your hand, this is really actually a delicate wax. It melts just with touch. You just put your finger on it, it'll start to melt. Bees use this in their hives to basically waterproof their colonies. And it has also great characteristics and tendencies to fight bacterias, any type of mold or fungus, anything like that. It's a kind of a natural remedy against that. But just as you can see, the touch of your hand will melt that, and it will penetrate into the leather and work the whole boot. All these little globs you see, as you can see when you touch them, they will melt into the boot. And just work the whole thing with your hands until it's all coated. And if you find that the leather will be really thirsty the first time you do it. It'll actually just soak in. If you find that you have kind of a flat, matte, rough, kind of a dry looking finish, go ahead and reapply it. And keep applying it until you have this smooth luster. Then you know that the leather is entirely permeated, and it's going to really help with waterproofing the boots and with the comfort of it and longevity. And do this often. The more you're in mud environments, you're going to have to do this a lot more in the wintertime than in the summertime. But just keep your boots clean and protect your investment. If you do that, you could be looking at getting 10 years from a boot with the investment. Let's say you find a deal, $400 plus the $250, so $650 investment in a comfortable, top quality handmade boot that is going to last you 10 years if you take care of it. And that's a good deal. So you can see the difference. You can see this one that I rubbed with my hand, how that is all soaked in, versus this one has just been painted on. You can see all the white still on it. But if I just take my hand and work that, you see that'll work right in there. Really nice. Alright, once you get them treated, let's talk about false tongues for a minute. Often you guys have seen these. I put them in boots and they'll sit like this. The reason for the false tongue is that it provides protection for the gusset against the laces. See, a boot, when it's put on properly, you'll have this should be a very large cut, this gusset right here. And the reason why it's cut so big is so you can fold it over. You should have 3 layers of protection. 1, 2, 3. Right here between the laces and your shin. As the boot is hinging and turning, twisting here, that can be very uncomfortable for boots that don't have a proper gusset. And when you have all 3 layers folded in there, it offers you a lot of padding and protection. But also, there's so much movement here, when the laces come across the gusset, this is actually a pretty soft, pliable leather because it comes in contact with your shin. The laces are going to wear this, and they can wear right through there and destroy the boot. So a cheap fix, and good boot manufacturers will come with these, is a false tongue. And that offers you an extra level of protection. It gives you 4 layers of leather between your shin and the laces. And if the laces wear through this heavy false tongue, for just a few dollars you can get another one and replace it. So that's basically the skinny on false tongues. And you can see right here, it's simple, they just lace in. With the first run there, they've got 2 holes cut in the bottom. You run them through here. like that. You can see the idea. That'll hold them in place. And just take note when you're putting your boots up to do the triple fold there. Tuck all this in there, and it should be looking just like that. Now with Wescos and especially Whites, you can, if you want to wait a little bit longer and don't want to buy these off the shelf, you can have them custom made. And I don't remember if there's an additional cost. I don't think it's much, if any. But if you have a dealer, you can go into the dealer and they have a pretty extensive process where when I had my Whites built, I had them custom made, the ones that I have out for repair. And what the cobbler did was I took my my fire pack, all the things that I would normally be wearing, everything weighted with the shelter and water and tools and equipment, and put these on, and he stood me on a piece of paper. It was kind of a graph being weighted and then traced around my foot, and took all the measurements around my instep, measurements for the toe box, the ankles, and sent these measurements into Whites, and they custom built the boot for my specific application. The reason why for all the equipment was when you're weighted down like that, your foot will spread out a little bit. It will be a little bit larger, and they just want to accommodate that to make sure that if you're going to be on your feet all day, you're going to be comfortable. And if you have the ability to do that, to get to a shop that offers that service, I would recommend it, because the fit you will get, you will have the most comfortable shoe, the best shoe that money can buy, and you will be very happy with it. So I think that probably about covers the boot. I was going to show you a picture here. Here is an example from Wesco catalog, and I can attest to this. You can see this old boot right here is rounded off. The sole is separating. There's actually a hole up in the front there. It's pretty much had it. I've never wore a boot to this type of failure before. I've sent them in long before that. And then here you can see the boot after. So pretty amazing, and it's a great service. And for $250 to get your boots rebuilt, they're nice. And you can see, just the kind of the breakdown here. Just no corners cut. Everything just top notch. You can see the full steel shank in there. You can see the stacked leather, the Vibram sole. There just is no finer boot than the Wesco or the Whites, and I highly recommend it. So do yourself a favor, and if you're looking for a reason to justify to your wife why you're going to spend $400 on a pair of boots, you can blame me and point them to this video, because I'll tell you what, you got to take care of yourself. You got if you're working construction or in the trades, it's hard work, and you're on your feet all day on concrete and uneven surfaces, and it will affect your health. It will affect your how your back feels. Your fatigue level will go down. It's such a small investment for how it returns on wear and tear, and just overall comfort and joy of pride of ownership. It's nice to have something that's in the throwaway Walmart, Taiwan world. It's nice to have something that is still made by men that take pride in their work, that put their names proudly on their products. It's becoming rarer and rarer, and I am drawn to that, and I kind of seek that out, and I enjoy it when I find it. So that's my take on boots. I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry it ran so long, but they just do sometimes. I'll see you in the next one.